Welcome to Based on a Book, the podcast that delivers your weekly dose of page-to-screen discussions. Here's Lindsey, and I've come to make sure you take your medicine.
I'm Crystal, and I hated working at a resort, not because of the ghosts, but because of the guests.
I'm Keri, and my new fear is sculpted shrubbery.
So today, we're continuing our listener submission theme with the title suggested by Hannah from Horror Hour with the Hannahs. And in this episode, we're covering The Shining by Stephen King and King's least favorite adaptation of any of his works, the 1980 adaptation directed by Stanley Kubrick and starring Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. So, for those who don't know, The Shining follows the Torrance family as Jack takes on a winter caretaker job at a remote mountain hotel, completely cut off from the outside world. What's meant to be a fresh start quickly turns into a pressure cooker as isolation, personal demons, and the hotel's unsettling history begin to take their toll. It's a slow burn psychological horror about family, obsession, and the terrifying ways a place can get inside your head. But before we begin to spiral, I want to get into our book ratings. And I want to start with Crystal.
I had a feeling. Well, I didn't hate reading this, but I definitely stalled for a very long time. I was just intimidated by reading this one. I have learned to love a lot of Stephen King's work, so it wasn't that I didn't want to read Stephen King or that I didn't want to read The Shining. It's just a big book, and I've just not been in the mood. But I read it, and I did not hate it, but I didn't really love it either. I gave it 3 topiary animals. It just, I don't know, it hit in a few ways. Like, the plot was interesting. It was definitely, like, had me wanting to know more about what was going on. I was invested in these characters. But also, like we've said with quite a few of Stephen King's works, there were a lot of crude moments that I felt like just didn't need to be there. There was racism, but I feel like it was appropriate for the time frame of the story. But also, it kind of sucked having to hear it again. And yeah, just overall, some of it just didn't hit. It kind of gave me the ick. But I'm glad I read it. So
Totally fair. Mm-hmm. Keri?
I keep wanting to laugh at you. Here's Lindsey.
And this is why we did not discuss our intros before.
Exactly.
It's like, I want to be surprised. And I was surprised. I'm with Crystal. This actually took me a really long time to read. Every time I thought I was almost done, I was like, wow, I still have 200 pages left. But I actually, kind of enjoyed this one. I actually kind of really liked it. I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite Stephen King, but I ended up giving it 4 shines. Surprisingly, like I said, kind of liked it. I think I would have given it a higher rating. Like Crystal said, there's very cringy moments in this book. Also, I felt like it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. I think it could have upped on the scare scale. Okay. I wanted it to be more ghost, more ghosty vibes. And I felt like it could have been better. More scare.
I feel that, yeah. I think because I've recently read it and I'm learning Stephen King. I'm understanding his writing more. And, before we did a lot of his short stories and stuff, and they don't really compare to his full-length novels.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I actually really enjoyed this story.
Okay.
And I always hear how boring the book is and how nothing happens. But I feel like it was such a good build-up to when things actually start happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then the entire time I was reading it, I actually kind of felt like Jack, and I was obsessing over this hotel. So I actually gave this one 4.5 visions.
Oh.
I actually upped my original rating from like a 2.5 to a 3, specifically because I loved the way it's written. This like Stephen King's different devices that literary devices he uses throughout the book to, in my mind, build that intensity. The repetitive nature of some of like going back to, smaller stories, but we don't really, or, past stories that we don't really associate with what's happening now, but Jack's slow descent into insanity. Like, I really loved that build. So I don't know who's saying that nothing happens in this book. So much happens in this book. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually talked to Lindsey about this because I'm reading it with Lindsey as well, where things that I didn't like about Stephen King's writing before, I'm actually learning to appreciate, where there's a lot of description, right? There's so much description, whether it's the setting, whether it's just like everyday tasks that a character is doing. But then, you just have to push through those moments where it feels kind of boring. You're like, why am I reading just like things that this person is doing every day? Because when big moments happen to these people, they impact you like
Mhm.
nobody's business,
Yep.
because you're like, wait, that's Danny. Wait,
Yeah.
that's Jack and Wendy. Like, I know these people.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
You become invested in these
yeah,
characters.
yeah, like invested, like I've never been invested before,
Mhm.
because I follow them in their everyday life. I'm following their every internal thought, even the thoughts that I don't care to hear about.
Yep.
It really
So,
makes the story that much more immersive. And I was thinking about your comment when we were reading it. I was thinking
mhm,
about that. I was like, wow, I really feel it in this book.
mhm, yeah. And then whenever, they're trapped in this hotel, they're kind of like the isolation and slowly going into like insanity in this way.
Mhm.
It affects them more than ever, and you're pushed with these characters to that level of insanity with them,
Mhm.
and you wouldn't feel that way if you weren't with them in the beginning,
Right.
whenever they were just doing their everyday tasks, or whenever they were
Exactly.
going through their emotional whatever they were dealing with emotionally in the very beginning,
I mean, in
before they even got to this hotel.
the first quarter of the book, they're not even in living in the hotel yet.
Mhm.
I don't think about it feels like that much, at least. But that part of the story is so important to what happens in the hotel, because like almost like the hotel's gaslighting this family. But you
Mhm.
wouldn't know that these things have such a big impact on this family if you didn't know their past, if you didn't know the thoughts that they were having while they stopped to make a phone call. If you
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
know that Danny had this experience at school previously or whatever, you wouldn't know that what just happened at the hotel was such a big deal if you hadn't known the past.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And just to get a little bit more backstory on Stephen King and him writing this book, he got the idea when he and his family were staying at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, and they were the last guest at the hotel before it closed for the winter. And he saw a group of nuns leaving the hotel, which made him feel like the place had suddenly become godless. And the King family actually stayed in room 217, which is the haunted room in the book. Of course, they changed it to 237 in the movie, but we'll talk about that later.
Mhm.
But then he also saw a fire hose in the hotel, which reminded him of a snake. So that's why you also get that within the book. So I feel like the way King, I don't want to say that he puts his real life into the stories, because obviously all of his stories are horror based, but he does put a lot of himself into these
Mhm.
stories, and I really like that.
Yeah, I feel like he puts a lot of himself specifically in this one, especially since this is like the beginning of his writing career. This is very early on in his writing career. I feel like you can feel it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can feel like the magic happening.
Yeah.
Like in the writing. I don't know. Like it just like I love it. Also with the Stanley Hotel, didn't he stay in the room that's like known as the haunted, like one of the main haunted rooms at the Stanley Hotel?
217.
Yeah, isn't 217? That's like a very
I know
haunted room
people
there.
pay extra to stay in that room now, and they only
Yeah.
can stay for like 4 hours or something weird like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll go ahead and say it now. The reason they changed it from 217 to 237 in the movie is because the hotel that was used for the outside filming
Mhm.
is an actual hotel. And they didn't want people to go to the hotel for room 217. So they made up a fake room number that isn't actually at the hotel. So 237. So they didn't have a lot of guests
Yeah, they
requesting
didn't
that
want
room.
people like afraid to stay in that room. It was at
Right.
like the Timberland Lodge or something.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
where it
that's
was
it.
filmed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want people actually scared to stay here.
Yeah.
So change the room number.
Mhm.
And then, like I mentioned earlier, Stephen King was so disappointed with this adaptation. He felt that Kubrick diverged from his vision. And in an interview in June of 1986, Stephen King actually said that it's like a great big beautiful Cadillac with no motor inside. You can sit in it and enjoy the smell of the leather upholstery. The only thing you can't do is drive it anywhere. So I would do everything differently. The real problem is that Kubrick set out to make a horror picture with no apparent understanding of the genre. So King eventually went to write and produce his own miniseries of The Shining in 1997. But obviously, not many people are talking about that one.
Mm-mm, they are
I've
not.
seen that one.
Have you?
I liked it. That one freaked me out and is a huge part of why I didn't want to watch or I didn't want to read this book. Because I was like, "Oh, I already know it. I already know it. It's not that big of a deal. I kind of don't feel like it." So, yeah.
Oh,
I liked that
interesting.
one.
I kind of want to watch that one.
I do too. I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I plan on rewatching it. It's been a long time, so.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure like Stephen King wrote a screenplay for the movie for Kubrick, but he was like he didn't like it. Like Kubrick was like, "No, he's not a good screenwriter." He picked up another author to write the screenplay. Because you can see, I forget the author's name, but it says it at the beginning credits of the movie.
Mhm.
It's like it's based on this novel, but the screenplay is written by this author.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, that's horrible.
That's horrible because
It's a
Stephen
slap in the
King writes the
face.
best freaking movies. Like, we all know
Exactly.
that by now.
Yep, we always say that.
Yeah. But the film was also shot in the same film studio that was used for Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And Stephen King visited the set of both films and he met director Irvin Kishner. And this later became the basis for part of his book, It. So Kirshner had been nicknamed Kirsch and was directing the first Star Wars films to feature Yoda. And in the Stephen King book, It, there's a character named Mrs. Kirsch who is said to sound like Yoda when she talks.
Oh,
So
that's so funny.
I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's a funny connection. I love
Yeah.
that. That's pretty cool.
Was there anything else we wanted to discuss before we get into spoilers?
No, because I need to talk about this movie.
I'm so ready to dive in.
I need to talk about it so bad.
Yeah, I'm excited. But from here on out, the doors are unlocked and we're going all the way in. This discussion contains full spoilers for The Shining by Stephen King and the 1980 film adaptation, plot twists, character breakdowns, the ending. If you haven't checked out or checked into The Overlook yet, now's your chance to turn back. We'll be here when you're ready. It also wouldn't be a Lindsey episode without a good content and trigger warning. This episode discusses domestic violence, child endangerment, alcoholism and addiction, psychological breakdowns, isolation, supernatural horror, and death. We'll also touch on emotional abuse and intense mental distress. So please listen with care and don't hesitate to step away if you need to. So, book.
Book.
Much different than movie.
Yeah.
Just a little.
This is my first time watching this movie. I've never seen this movie before.
Same.
I thought I had seen the movie. I don't know if I just don't remember a lot from it, but it was very different from what I remember. Or I just don't remember a lot of aspects. I don't remember a lot of scenes.
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces in clips because it's an iconic movie. Everybody
Mhm.
knows, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows here's Johnny.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's seen these little bits and pieces, but I had never seen the whole movie. And I'm just, I can't wait. I can't wait to tell you how much I'm just mad about Wendy. I'm just mad about Wendy. She was like reduced from this like she was not like some crazy alpha strong female in the book, but she wasn't a weakling. She wasn't a wimp. In the like they first go to the resort at the very beginning, and they're being kind of given the tour, and she's like, "Oh wow. Everything is so grand. I love pink and gold. They're my favorite color." She's like this simpering, ditzy wit. I hated her. That was not the Wendy I read in the book.
And even
Sorry.
Stephen King has even talked about this publicly, that he hates how they portrayed Wendy in the film.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Among his many criticisms of the movie, he envisioned Wendy as a blonde former cheerleader type who had never faced real hardships, which would make her ordeal at the Overlook especially terrifying. And yeah, he felt Duvall was emotionally vulnerable and a little more experienced than the Wendy in the book, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
They were opposites.
Yeah. Honestly, like, let's be honest here. Danny, Jack, and Wendy all three of them are extremely complex in the book.
Yes.
Compared to the movie. The movie is giving one-dimensional characters. Okay.
Okay, so we are trapped in this hotel with them, basically.
Mhm.
Right? So there's only 4 people in this hotel: Jack, Wendy, Danny, and the reader. That's it.
And if you want to count the Overlook itself,
the Overlook itself is a character. Absolutely.
In the book.
Absolutely. But we get to know those 3 people incredibly well because we don't have a bajillion side characters happening. I mean, yes, there are some, but they're not in and out of every page. They're not in and out of every scene, So we get to know these deep, complex, multidimensional characters. Yeah. And this movie, they were so flat.
Yeah. It was bothering me so bad because in the beginning of the book, like you said, like a good chunk of the beginning of this book, we are introduced to Jack where, he's an alcoholic, and at this moment that we're meeting him, he's also trying to, be sober, trying to recover from being an alcoholic. It also has serious anger issues, has, had a big incident with his child where he, got so angry, dislocated the shoulder of his child. Wendy was about to divorce him, but it's with Jack and Wendy, their relationship, they're trying to work on their relationship for Danny, and Danny loves his dad.
Yes.
Danny adores his dad.
And Jack legitimately wants to be a better person for his family.
Mm-hmm.
We find ourselves, at least I did, I found myself rooting for Jack because he was making actionable steps towards not drinking anymore, towards settling back into a writing career, for being able to provide for his family, being more present for his wife and his son.
Mhm.
And we see him taking those steps. Nowhere in the movie does that happen.
Like, I'm sorry, this might get me into some trouble here, but the second, because I know everyone loves this movie and I know everyone loves Jack Nicholson, but it really pissed me off because I had just finished the book and I immediately watched the movie, that I just get this smirking little jerk
Yeah.
sitting at his interview,
Mm-hmm.
and just like it wasn't giving,
Caring father, loving husband.
Like we needed to get both. Like, yeah, he did have his jerk moments, but we had to get both. Like, why is Wendy with this person?
Right. Why should we care about Jack?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Why should we care about anything that's happening to
And
this
he mentions
family?
repeatedly that he quit drinking, that they don't drink.
Mm-hmm.
But we never really understand, like, there's a catalyst for why he stops drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We don't really ever learn.
Which wasn't because of Danny.
No.
Which what they use in the movie. It wasn't because of Danny. It was because of him almost hitting somebody
in a car
with his
accident.
car. Yeah.
So, we don't get any of that. We don't get, that he is investing in his relationship, that he is trying to make this work. We don't really see that or get that impression at all. In fact, from the very beginning, he's a dick to his wife.
Mm-hmm.
He was meant to be, trying to be a loving father. That's why he took this job.
Yep.
But right off the bat, he doesn't seem to care about his wife and his child as they're going to this hotel.
Yeah. And what did you guys think of, like, the hotel? Like, was it what you pictured? Because I don't know why. It's not exactly what I pictured.
It's definitely not what I pictured.
Okay.
I pictured more lodgy, and I've been to Colorado and I've seen some, like, wintry lodges, so they do, like, I have seen some like that, but I've also seen the, like, more, like, timbery looking ones, like wooden lodge, ski lodge type, I guess. I didn't really get that feeling, but it wasn't meant to be a ski lodge. It was meant to be a summer resort. So
it was more the windows for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was also disappointed that they didn't include the elevator. Like, I felt like the elevator was such a big part of the story and how creepy it was. And the fact that wasn't even in the movie, I was like, wow.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the hotel coming to life, and they just left out part of the hotel's life.
Yeah, I mean, I think they left out about 80% of the hotel's life, to be honest.
The hotel was a physical presence, like, and could influence the physical world at a certain point in the book, was making things happen.
Yeah.
And we don't really get that as much in the movie. Other than, I gotta know, what's with the tidal wave of blood? Where did that even come from? That's not in the book. Did I miss that in the book? Is it in? Okay. Because I just don't get that part.
And it's supposed to be like, and it's a very iconic shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Known in the movie as well.
So, like, standalone, I don't think this is a bad movie. I get why people like it. I get why it gives people the creepy crawlies and they enjoy it. But as a book adaptation, it is so different from this book. It changes, I don't know, the characters change, the plot's still kind of there, but I don't know, it just, I understand why people love it, I do, but I also don't,
Yeah. Yeah. I
think
agree.
Film-wise, cinematography, like, all of that is gorgeous, but as far as storytelling goes, it's super flat.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I don't know.
I did notice, like, the way the time is passing, right? So it shows us, like, 1 month later, but then it shows us, like, a week later, and then it shows us the next day, and then it shows us 8 a.m., 4 p.m. to like, it's building, it's moving faster, things are going. So there were like some very Kubrick devices in there that I noticed. And so I kind of see where people can look at it and be like, well, from the film standpoint, the devices, you like, I get it. But also, this was meant to be a scary story about a haunted hotel and a man's slow descent into insanity.
There was no slow descent.
No.
It was just no.
He was already a jackass when he got there, and then he just went psycho jackass.
Yeah. That's the thing though. That's what just drives me so crazy is that we should have seen the good parts so that we could see the hotel was bringing out his jackass. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
we watched the hotel break this man.
Yeah. And like
You
bring
know?
out the worst parts in him. That
And
was
rip
the
apart
point.
they ripped apart this family. And
Yeah.
at no point did we feel, at least to me, I did not feel invested in this family at all.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, and
care.
that's unfortunate. I think the only thing I really liked about the movie was, since we're talking about like the cinematography, the points where we are in Danny's perspective, like at his level, going down the hallways, terrifying. I was like, bring me back up. Bring me back up. I don't want to be down here at this point of view. I don't want to be, it's like you feel vulnerable and you feel scared that you're this low to the ground right now. I was like,
See-
no, bring me back up.
From the cinematography parts that I really noticed that kind of hit me was like when they're first driving to the hotel, or the big wide shots of the surrounding area and going to almost like more especially when the snow starts falling and we start getting those wide angle shots of the snow, to like harder hit how isolated they are, how far away from anyone they are, how hard it would be for anyone to get to. It really kind of intensified that alone but claustrophobic feeling.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Danny,
Yeah.
what did we think of Danny?
Wait, I have something funny to say. I had never heard, I knew I had heard of red rum, but I didn't know what it was from. And I didn't know what it meant. And it took me. I didn't know what it meant. And everyone was laughing at me when I kept saying, I don't know what red rum means.
Wow.
Literally the entire time I'm reading it, I was like, wow, to experience red rum and not know what it means.
It was me. It was me.
Wow.
I had no idea.
These are the moments I love our podcast the most, you guys.
I literally had no clue. No joke. I didn't know what it meant until it was revealed.
Okay.
I literally was like, I wish I could go back in time to when this book came out so I could experience red rum for the first time without knowing what it meant. That is amazing.
That was me on my couch over the weekend.
I'm so jealous.
Kind of, yeah.
I literally was like, oh my God.
What a lovely reveal that must have been for you.
It was great.
I am jealous. You're right, Lindsay. Damn, I'm jealous now too.
Well, I knew what it meant, but I didn't know how it was revealed, so I did at least get that.
Yeah,
and I thought that was satisfying, but to not know what it meant and get that reveal?
Yeah.
I literally had no idea.
That's awesome.
I do love in the book, though, how Danny is so desperate to learn how to read because Tony shows him these visions and they have signs in them and he wants to be able to read the signs so that he understands them better.
Yeah.
Like, that is such a 5-year-old, 6-year-old thing to do. I just think that's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so Danny in the movie.
Oh my God.
Dude, Danny in the movie. Come on, man.
I mean, I get child actor. What are you going to do? But also, like, what did they make this kid? Okay, first of all, why is Tony living in his mouth?
Why? I didn't like that. I didn't like when he kept saying that.
I hated that so much.
And then the doctor's like, can I see him if you open your mouth? He's like, no. No, he's in my stomach now.
So did you know
What?
that when he goes into the red rum fiasco, do you know he says it 43 times?
Oh my
Oh my
God.
god. I'm not even surprised. I was like, wrap this up. Wrap it
Pretty
up with me.
much.
Okay, so like, have you ever seen this is gonna sound random, but have you ever seen Christmas Eve on Sesame Street?
I
No?
can't say that I have.
No?
Oh my gosh. There is this kid who's like, where's Big Bird? The entire time. And I swear this kid is literally like, can't even open her eyes. And the whole time she's like, we gotta find Big Bird. We gotta find Big Bird. Like her eyes are closed. And like, she literally, like, we always talk about, she's like, they're either like filming this in the middle of the night or this child is drugged. Like, no joke. And that's how I felt about Danny. I
Yeah.
felt that about Danny. I was like, is he okay? Like,
They
there's
made
no
his character,
personality coming out of this kid. Is he okay?
they made him kind of like petulant and shy. Like he wasn't talking to Dick, whatever his last name is.
Halloran.
Thank you, Halloran. I kept trying to say Houlihan. I knew that one right.
Close.
But he wouldn't, like, in the movie he wouldn't talk to him. He was like being shy and like, I'm not allowed to talk about it or whatever.
Mhm.
Whereas in the book he was like, oh my gosh, I think this guy's like me. I'm so excited to meet someone else like me.
Mhm.
And I kind of, I don't know, I feel like in the book he was, okay, I'm going to speak from as the expert on this one because I live with a 6-year-old. He, in the book, was more childlike, more innocent, more curious, more, he was a little reserved at times because he seemed to know a little bit more because he has the shining and Tony is, helping to guide him or whatever. And so he kind of knew when to say things, when not to ask, but he still was polite and fun and interested in talking to people, and a very childlike 5-year-old. And in the movie he is almost like an abused child, withdrawn and introverted, and like he has been through significant trauma. And we know that he had been through some trauma, but he seemed to be really handling it well in the book, kind of bouncing back from it, making, mentally handling it well and logicking that stuff out. Whereas in the movie, he was just weird. It was not right.
I actually wanted to say something about that. So, Book Danny is a lot more confident in
Mhm.
himself,
Mhm.
and he speaks openly about The Shining. Wendy and Jack know about it, and I
Mhm.
feel like, and they even explain it, but they've never talked down to Danny. They never treat him like a child. He's very
Right.
intelligent, and I think that kind of plays into the nurturing that he gets from Jack and Wendy and why
Right.
he's so confident, and you don't get any of that in the movie.
Mm-mm. No.
Mm,
In fact, they
yeah.
they very much treat him like a child in the movie, whereas in the book they talk about not talking down to him, about involving him in decisions and conversations and explaining things to him. And in the movie it's very much a, don't wake up your daddy, get out of the way kind of
Mhm.
thing.
There's even a point like he's scared to go talk
Mhm.
to his dad and like sits like on his lap and like he's very afraid to talk to him. And like that, I mean, that could honestly, I mean, I don't know if they're actually wanting the kid to act that way to reflect that or if
Right.
the kid's just like doing his thing, you know what I mean?
Well,
Mhm.
and
Like just going about his day as a child actor. But
right.
I feel like they just like completely missed the mark on it to where I don't know, I just felt like he was just so much more complex in the
Mhm.
book. Like just so much more complex. It just had a lot more personality. And it could have been his character could have been a lot more thought out in the
Mhm.
movie, just in general.
Yeah. So going back to Dick Halloran, big difference between book and movie there too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's the one that can relate the most to Danny. They both
Mhm.
have the shining. And Danny is actually supposed to be more powerful than Halloran is.
Mhm.
And you don't get that. Like Crystal was saying, he's almost afraid to talk to Halloran about the shining.
Mhm.
I don't like that. I liked their bonding, and the fact that they still had Danny reach out to him for help in the movie, it just didn't feel right because they didn't have that bond.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely connected in the book.
Mhm.
And you see, and again, this goes back to Stephen King's writing, how we go through, we've learned about Dick and his mom or his grandmother and where he lives and the few times that he's had these experiences and these premonitions
Mhm.
or visions. And so we become invested in him, and it shows us how important it is to him that he tried to nurture Danny a little bit, that he makes sure that Danny is safe, because he didn't necessarily, his grandmother did that for him. You know, he wanted to make sure that Danny got a little bit of guidance too, that he felt this connection to Danny. And so when Danny does call out for him, Dick doesn't hesitate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, and so we know why, and we kind of feel that, and we expect that of him in the book. In the movie, it was just like, why does this guy even care?
Right.
You know?
I mean, and then he shows up and he immediately dies.
Yeah.
Which that doesn't happen in the book.
No.
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 No, he definitely does not die.
Yeah.
Which I was like, why do they do this? Like,
I hated it. I hated it so much.
I think
It's-
it's part of that tension building in the end, is we still have to feel like it could fail. We still have to feel like they might not get out. And so we got to the end, and it couldn't be as easy as him just coming in and being like, okay, come on, get in the snowcat, let's go.
mm-hmm.
You know, we had to see like more, you know, contention, more like, what's the word, conflict, more, you know, adversity to overcome for them to get out, you know?
Yeah, we'll definitely get more into the ending here in a minute. I want to there's another scene that I want to talk about that kind of leads into the scene with Halloran. So when Wendy finds Jack's manuscript and she's reading through it, and there's the shot in the movie where she's reading through the manuscript, and you almost expect Jack to just pop up behind her. You almost expect it to be a pop-up scare, but
Mm-hmm.
it's more of a, you know, you get the wide shot of Wendy looking and then Jack enters, and you're expecting a pop-up scare, you don't get it, so you're still on edge. And then you get that pop-up scare when Halloran enters the hotel, because as soon as he comes in, you get the shot of him and boom, Jack's there.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they only put that death in there just to have that pop-up scare.
That one out of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. Yeah.
Because you just earlier you didn't have it, so you're like, oh, it's not gonna happen, and then boom.
There
Yeah,
is
like
a
the
lot of
suspense
building tension. Yeah. They like build it and pull that cord and finally, I guess, cut it through Dick's gut. One
Yeah.
swing.
I want to talk about another scene that really bothered me.
Okay.
The scene in the movie where they had this woman fully naked.
Mm-hmm.
237.
Yes,
Room
Yep.
237.
237. I was like, did we need to do this? I don't think we needed to do this. This is
No.
not in, that was not in the book.
No.
He went in
Not
there.
like that, no.
Not like that. It was just a lady in the bathtub and she was scary.
Well, also, Jack never saw her because
Yeah.
Jack doesn't have the shining.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was the whole point.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was just like the curtain like closes really fast. I
And
remember
he
that part 'cause
knows-
that scared me.
Yeah.
It like he's just in the bathroom and it closes really fast and he's like, "What the heck?"
Can we talk a bit about, okay, so yes, that particular scene in the film really didn't need to be there, but I feel like that was one of the few moments in the movie that felt more Stephen King to me, because there is so much random stuff in this book of someone just gently caressing a woman's breast, or like
Classic Stephen King.
yeah, like a nipple slowly, coming out from under the shirt, and now both breasts are exposed, and it's just casually mentioned, like it's just an everyday thing that women wander around with their tits hanging out. And don't get me wrong, if you want to do that, that's on you, but we don't do that in the lounge at the hotel,
Yeah.
And then at one point in the book, and I have to mention this because it killed me, Jack is scared. This is kind of early on in the book, and they're at the hotel, and Jack is just now I think this is in the first topiary scene, where he thinks that they're coming up on him, or he thinks that something he gets that like tingle on the back of his neck kind of thing. But at one point it's written that his testicles tighten, or the skin on his testicles tighten, and his buttocks clenches. And I'm over here like, when was that ever something that we write to describe fear? And don't get me wrong,
I feel like I knew exactly what it meant, though.
I was going to say, I'm not a man. I don't necessarily know if that's what happens when you get scared, but I kind of feel like I kind of get it.
I felt like I did.
I think I just read something very similar in a Stephanie Plum book.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, have I ever heard that? Have I ever heard a woman be like a female author describing a woman and their genitalia in any sort of feeling or example that didn't have necessarily to do with sex, right? Because like, when was the last time we read about, a woman sitting down to an excellent meal and her labia tingles with excitement? Like, that doesn't like women authors don't write that shit. But also maybe apparently Janet Ivanovich does. So
I'm pretty sure she had Stephanie thinking, like, if I was a man right now, this would be happening.
Okay, well.
But honestly, that description was like, okay, I know what the fear is. I got it.
This man is terrified.
Yeah, this man is scared.
I mean, but honestly, if those giant topiary critters were coming after me, my testicles would shrivel too, man.
Yeah, like
right up inside there.
That part actually was really scary. And you know what? At first I was like mad. I was like, oh, but this isn't even in the freaking movie, because they replaced it with this entire hedge maze. But I get like, okay, how are they going to do this with like, the graphics and everything like
They're
that? So.
in the miniseries, the 2-parter or whatever that is. Yeah, from 97 or whatever that was.
Yeah,
you get the topiary critters. So
I'm curious what that's going to look like.
Creepy as shit.
Yeah.
Well, it was in the 90s. I don't know. It probably is the worst CGI ever.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm getting Wrinkle in Time flashbacks.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
Not the flying cabbage monsters.
No. Okay. Whew.
Well, speaking of the maze, we have 2 totally different endings.
Oh my god.
I really liked the ending in the book.
Yeah.
And the ending in the book goes for redemption.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, Jack is still there enough to want to save Danny. And before we even get that far, I want to mention the part where Wendy stabs him in the back, and he falls, and she's trying to make it up the stairs, and she hears Jack get up behind her, and he says something like, "You killed me," or something, and I was like, oh, this isn't Jack.
Yeah.
That part was awesome.
Yeah. Honestly, that last section of the book, when we start that, from that moment on, I couldn't put it down. I had to just go, because shit is hitting the fan.
Yep.
It reminded me of like No Exit, when you think that they're about to get out, but then they don't, and then you think they're about to get out and they can't, and then they think that like it
Yep.
was just one thing after another.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah. Honestly, even whenever I was watching the movie, that part, whenever, she's screaming at him and they're like going up the steps,
Mhm.
that kind of freaked me out a little bit too. I'm not gonna lie. I
Yeah.
didn't like that at all.
I hated Shelley Duvall with the bat just being like,
Yeah, I'm like, can you
like,
hit him?
like
Can you hit
what?
him?
Swing or don't swing. Like
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Like there's no like we're just listening to this man's dialogue for 8 minutes. Swing on his head.
For real.
Like
For
there we
real.
don't got time for this. Like this is we ain't got no time. And then he's like, "Here's Johnny." No. I'm like, "Stab him in the face while he's doing his whole thing." What are we waiting on?
And then they lock him in the pantry or whatever,
Mhm.
and I'm like, and then they just go about their lives in their little apartment, their quarters or whatever, and they can hear him yelling or screaming or whatever. And at this point in the book, Wendy knows the hotel is the problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's coming to life enough that even she's experiencing it. And
Exactly.
they say all mothers have a little bit of shining. So I'm sure she had some kind of sense beforehand, but it's ramping up.
It's ramping up. It is physically changing things. It's causing the elevator to come up and down as different things are moving or whatever. So she knows the hotel is out to get her.
Mhm.
And that she trusted the pantry enough. But the pantry is part of the hotel, bitch. Come on.
Yeah, we gotta
What did you
go.
think was going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. The minute I had his ass locked up, I'm running on time here. We gotta go.
Yeah,
Like we're not gonna go to bed and tuck in and make a plan. No, the plan is set. We're out.
Yeah. Also, who's sleeping? Who's
Right?
sleeping during this time? Absolutely not. A
Mm-mm.
part that really, before we get into the ending, I have to say, a part that really scared me was Danny in the book walking out into the hallway and the man dressed as a dog in the hallway. That actually terrified me.
No. Yeah, that was a no thank you from me.
That scared me bad.
That was a no thank you.
I think it's funny that so many people, because in the movie, they just show a 2-second clip of
A
a
dude with a
man
dog. Yeah.
in a costume.
Apparently
with
it's also
another
a
man.
bear costume. It's not even a dog costume.
Yeah. And I'm like, I know exactly what's going on here based on the book.
Mhm.
And the fact that everyone, if you haven't read it, I see so many people as I was like doing research, everyone's like, we still don't understand what this means. And I'm like,
Read the damn book.
oh no. Like, why did they put this in here?
Yeah. With no context clues, no nothing, no backstory.
Yeah.
Just
Nope.
there.
And I mean, I guess, like, should a movie be able to stand alone without the book? I think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Personally, but also I can understand why maybe he thought he was making the movie as a companion piece to the book. I don't know. No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if he's
Because that
doing
dog did just come out of nowhere in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, where did he come from? Why is he even here? There's no mention of the masquerade ball or anything. And so suddenly there's someone in a costume and you're like, what the hell? Like, okay. Sorry.
So where King went with redemption for Jack, Kubrick went with ambiguity for the movie. So even with the costume, the bear costume, you don't know what he's doing. You don't know why he's there.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Leave it up for interpretation.
Yeah. The ending of the book I loved so much.
Yeah.
The ending of the book was so good. I like what Danny did for, his family, basically.
Mhm.
And there's this part I keep thinking about when Danny's like, we gotta go, we gotta get out of here, like, because the whole hotel is gonna like blow up.
Mhm.
And, Wendy is like struggling. I just lost the other guy's name. Yeah, Halloran, he's struggling, but he's like, we gotta go because this whole place is gonna go up in flames. He like sends the image to Halloran.
Yeah.
And then they hear the elevator shooting down, and they hear like an entity in the elevator like screeching because they have to go. The entity is like going to the boiler room to stop it from like blowing up. But like it's Jack, but it's like not Jack. It's like a thing in there. Like that part is just like so spooky to me. I don't know why.
So
It's
the part
spooky.
where they're on the third floor, it's Danny and Jack. Danny has broken through this entity enough to get Jack out. But there's also, so he's got the mallet, which it's not an axe. I just want to throw that out there. Not an axe in the book.
No.
So he has this mallet, and he destroys his own face to remove the mask of Jack. I like that. That was cool.
Yep.
Of course you do, Lindsey.
No, it was so symbolic, honestly.
Yeah.
It was really epic.
Well, I'm also just imagining now he's got the bloody face. I'm imagining he has no nose at this point. It's
Right.
terrifying. Danny gets Jack to come back, and he's like, hey, you forgot to check the boiler. You should probably go do that. And then I imagine him like freaking out. And I imagine him running off to do his thing. And then we cut to his perspective in the boiler room, and he's, you know, twisting the wheel, he's burning himself, he's ignoring that, and he actually celebrates and he cheers and he's like, I did it, I won. And then the line is like, and then the boiler exploded.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of laughed at that part because that was just really funny to imagine.
It was. And like I do love too how Stephen King, as he's talking about this entity in the basement, this Jack not Jack, he at one point even calls him the caretaker manager, because remember, like the hotel manager is the entity that we don't see. And so now it's almost like Stephen King's acknowledging they are one now. Jack has been brought into this fold, so now we have the caretaker manager.
He also calls him it.
Yeah, because it. But then I don't understand why in the end of the movie, Kubrick has like goes to the picture, and we see Jack at the front of the photo of July 4th, I think it was 1921 or whatever.
I thought it was
and
27.
Something like that. And Jack is in the photo.
He's just now part of the hotel.
But part of the hotel's past.
That's the ambiguity.
Well, and then like that Grady guy was all like, I've always been here, just like you will always be here, or whatever. Like it was very weird. And then at one point, even in the book, I think maybe it was the book, maybe it was the movie, I can't remember, where he talks about like there is no time, or all time is the same time, or something like that. It was very weird, and I thought that's an odd thing to throw in out of freaking nowhere. Now I'm going to think on that for the next 10 days. It's fine, don't worry.
Yeah.
Not my time travel brain going like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I hated the movie ending.
Yeah.
I did not like that movie ending. Honestly, when it ended of him being frozen in the maze, like Danny's like running after him in the maze, or he's running after Danny in the maze. And then eventually is just sitting there, I guess, frozen overnight. Because like Danny meets up with Wendy and they get out of there. I was like, what the heck is this? You guys, what is this?
Danny and Wendy just drive away on the snowcat.
Yep.
They leave poor Dick's body just bleeding out there in the lobby.
I know. I like how the book ended because there is a sequel, right?
There's also a prequel.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. The sequel is Dr. Sleep, right?
Yes.
And the adaptation is by Mike Flanagan.
Yes.
Who we really like.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
Yep. I actually really want to cover that one. Stephen King actually stated after seeing Dr. Sleep, he now appreciates Kubrick's film a little more.
Ooh.
So
That's
Okay.
interesting
yeah, I think it's
and
worth checking out.
unexpected.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Honestly, something that really like upsets me about the movie as well is the fact of Shelley Duvall, how she was treated
yeah,
during the filming process, I think is really sad. Yeah, I think that's crazy.
Mhm.
I watched like this whole like behind the scenes making of The Shining
hmm
and how Kubrick, I think he was just like just treating her really terribly and like the stress of the film was make it like she would be like passing out on set, like her hair was like falling out.
hmm he wanted to keep her on edge to match the character, basically.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are rumors that he would call Stephen King at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and asked him if he believed in God or some crazy nonsense. He denied it, but there were rumors.
Yeah. I
Mm.
did say, I think I read about that. I'm like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be pretty easy to figure it out. But what's our final verdict?
Book.
Definitely going book
Book.
Yeah, absolutely. Book.
for sure.
Yep. Well, that's going to bring us to our question of the episode. We discussed it a little bit throughout. But in horror stories, creators often choose between two emotional endings: redemption, meaning a character who has done terrible things gets a moment of clarity, sacrifice, or humanity before the end, or ambiguity, which leaves things unresolved or unsettling. Do you guys prefer redemption or ambiguity in your horror? Let's go with Crystal.
Honestly, I don't necessarily need redemption, but I hate ambiguity. I need something to wrap it up. I need everything to tie together so that I know enough of the ending to be able to sleep at night. That's all. I don't really care if anybody gets redeemed or has their moment of clarity. I don't care about them. They can still die so long as I know that everything is tied in a bow and there are no more bad guys at the end of the story.
That's fair. What about you, Keri?
I don't know. I think it depends, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I have enjoyed both. I guess it depends on like the structure of the story and the characters and things like that. I've definitely read stories where like the ending is like, wait, what the hell just happened? And like I have to like deal with the fact that it's so open ended.
Leave the world behind.
Yeah, like something like that. I don't hate those type of endings. I probably prefer something like being wrapped up over that, but I like an ending that makes me think a little bit too, where I have to like kind of decide how they would end, or it's like up for debate maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, I agree, though. I think it depends on the story itself and the characters. Specifically with The Shining, I think the book is more emotionally devastating because redemption is possible, but it's
Mhm.
also still not enough to undo the damage.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think The Shining is a good example because honestly, I cried at the end of The Shining during like I think it was like during the epilogue because of how emotionally like devastated Danny was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got emotional over that. And like you said, I think that has sometimes a bigger impact
Yeah. All
for
right.
sure.
Well, before we check out of the Overlook, we want to give a huge thank you to Hannah from Horror Hour with the Hannahs for submitting The Shining for our listener submission theme, because this was literally the perfect pick for us. And
Mhm.
we loved the getting lost in the book and the story and experiencing the movie.
Mhm.
Yep.
But we still want to hear from you guys, so head down to the comments, answer our question of the episode, let us know where you land, tell us your thoughts, submit some new recs for us because we're growing the list back. And if you're ready to experience the story again or for the very first time, you can grab The Shining on Libro FM using our affiliate link in the show notes. It's a great way to support independent bookstores and us while you listen. And don't forget us on social media. We've got clips, polls, behind the scenes posts, all sorts of things related to our episodes. That's all, folks. We'll see you in the next chapter of Based on a Book. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.